Hi, folks, and welcome to a special edition of the BC Poly Hot Stove. It's me, Jordan Bateman. Just want to introduce this clip very quickly here. This is the post-game show for the last BC Liberal leadership debate that was held on January the 18th. Literally moments after they went off the air, we were on the Twitter space talking to folks about this, and it features 6 of the 7 candidates, and it also features at the very end a guest appearance by moderator Richard Zussman, and we thank the candidates and Richard for coming on board. So enjoy this. We're going to try to do this again for the actual voting day, February the 5th. And as McLean would say, happy politics. Well, the debate was good. I actually found this format very interesting. I was highly skeptical at first when they were all in different rooms, and you wondered if how that would actually affect their interactions with one another, but it worked, and I think that's a lot of credit to Richard Zussman, who was an excellent moderator. He certainly kept it moving smoothly. It was some very interesting pointed questions to start. Mike, what did you think? How did you think it went to in this format?
I was trying to kind of pull myself out of the and thanks Jordan and hi everybody and really for all the BC Poly nerds. I guess this is our New Year's treat. I always try to kind of pull myself out of the perspective and imagine what voters and I guess rank and file BC Liberals are thinking when they're seeing there. We see a lot of the various members of the team sort of cheering on their people, and there's a few voices that pop up that are critics, and there are some that are just trying to make sense of it all. And so that's the way it's all been going along. I think generally what I saw was everybody is pretty strong on their game after campaigning for almost a year. And, I felt that there were probably a few bumps there, but it was interesting to see. I guess there was still quite a bit of attacks directed at Kevin Falcon, the perceived frontrunner. Lots of discussions around cities, lots of discussions around a bit of inside baseball around the voting process. So I'm kind of interested in sort of seeing and hearing what people say in the next few days. And obviously we're just a couple of weeks away from voting.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mike. And McLean is joining us. McLean, I guess with this, the official launch of the BC Poly Hot Stove post-game show here. McLean, when they first popped on the screen in 7 different locations, presumably squirreled in 7 different places around Global BC's Burnaby studio with a moderator, a ferry ride away, I was skeptical this was going to work, but you got to have Zussman and the candidates. They all brought it tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, it felt a little more big time seeing it on. I mean, I watched it actually on cable TV. And Richard Zussman, it's kind of cliche to say, well, the moderator won the debate, and then that's not what happened. But we should say off the top, I think that he just did an absolutely phenomenal job. Not only sort of wrangling the debate with 7 candidates, but never trying to make himself the star of the show. He never seemed like he lost control of it, and he retained, a twinkle in his eye and good humor throughout. So, I mean, it can be grating watching a debate when the moderator isn't up to the task, or they seem to be trying to become the star themselves. But that didn't happen tonight. And hats off to Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to spend too much time on the moderator, but great job. Pointed questions to start. I do see Michael Lee has hopped on the call here. I'm going to invite him to speak, and if he would like to, he can. But from the very first question, right, like a different question for each candidate, and going like right for the jugular, like going right there to the whatever the stone in the shoe of the particular campaign of the candidate he was talking about. Michael Lee, thanks for joining us. Congratulations, you've done it. You've run the gauntlet of 4 different debates. How'd you feel tonight's went for you?
Well, I'm excited for where we're getting to in this race. We're down to a few weeks when the critical decisions need to be made in terms of people's ballots and all of that. So it was a great opportunity to do it one last time in front of the membership and others who are watching. But as you said, we are actually at the Wall Center Hotel in separate ballrooms here.
Well, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, well, there you go. Good to know.
Yeah, there you go.
Michael, what's it like when you're? I mean, you had that exchange with Kevin, and that's kind of the part I'm most curious about. But it doesn't have to be specifically about that moment. When you're, all in remote locations and you're standing, I assume, sort of by yourself. What's that like? Just in terms of like the vibe, is it different than when everyone's all in the same room? Just sort of walk us through what that feels like.
Yeah, so we're here in front of a camera and a podium setup that is identical for every candidate. Pro Show did a fantastic job on this, and so everything looked the same. But you're right. I mean, together and getting into the candidate exchange, and I agree with you. Richard did a fantastic job to get us engaged with Global, but it's not the same because we're not seeing each other. Our body language, you're pointing at the camera and you're hoping you're making your point across, but I think the debate was a rigorous one. It talked about the fundamental issues we have to consider in terms of how we restore trust and win the next election.
Michael, the exchange between you and Kevin, where you questioned him on the membership signups and pointed out that 6 campaigns were standing on kind of one side and holding Kevin to account for what you think is going on there. How do you think that exchange went? And it's always tough in these situations because the last thing you want to do is jeopardize or speak badly of a process or a party that you could very well end up being the leader of in a few weeks.
Yeah, Jordan, I am concerned about that. I mean, we all are members of the same team here. We want the party to go forward in a positive, united way. But there had to be some serious questions raised here as to how a candidate conducts themselves. I think it's very indicative of how they govern. So how we do things truly does matter, as I've said here tonight. And so I think that the whole topic that I raised is a challenge to Kevin in terms of his conduct and the way that his team made racism the issue when really voter integrity is the core of what all the campaigns should be concerned about and the party.
Michael, what did you think of Kevin's response there? I mean, it was only sort of a 2-minute exchange you guys got to have at the end there. What's your thoughts on where things stand right now?
Well, I could have said more during the debate, but I think it's indicative that it concerns me that Kevin doesn't seem to understand the importance of why members, like people who are on the line here tonight, have confidence. It's so important that we all have confidence in the way that the voting process works, and of course the outcome. And so I think that how we navigate through the next few weeks is going to be important. I know the party is doing everything they can with their audit process. It can be said, of course, that a number of members are under audit, and each of the campaigns were invited by the party to raise their concerns, and those concerns have been raised privately, though. Right? I mean, those are not things that you would air, certainly not in the course of a global debate or on CKNW.
Yeah. Last question for you, Michael, is, what happens from here for you and your campaign? Obviously, the public debates are done. The memberships are signed up. That cake is kind of baked. Like, what is kind of your plan here for the next, what is it, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks before voting day?
Well, Jordan, this has been the challenge of this marathon of a race, right? The pandemic, we're all trying to get through this safely and in a healthy way, but it's limited more physical contact. And I think that obviously a lot more work is done on the phone or on Zoom or by emails or communications, but that really puts the real emphasis in terms of how we continue to talk to voters and members of our party. That's what I'll be doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Have a great night. I'm going to let you go, and then we're going to bring on Val Lewin.
Great to talk to you guys. Thanks, McLean. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks. And I'm going to invite Val to speak now. As he's getting set up, McLean. But Val had another very strong night. He worked in operating system, which I sometimes wonder if he just does for me because he knows I love it so much. But Val,
I think that's what happened. I think he was listening to HOTSTOVE today because everyone here was listening to HOTSTOVE today, and he discovered that you're a fan of that reference, and I think we've told him that in the past. And so, of course, you lead with that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Val, thanks for joining us. How do you think it went tonight? And congratulations, you've made it through all 4 of these debates.
Yeah, no, hey, it was a great night, and I got to take my hat off to Pro Show and the party for putting on a very hermetically sealed, safe, but still engaging debate experience. It was bizarre being in 7 separate rooms here, but it was good to the last drop. I thought everyone brought their A game tonight. Some of the conversation was robust. There was a couple of curveballs in terms of the format. We weren't fully aware how some of the things that got switched up. Richard obviously jumped in when Kevin and I were having an exchange. That's not what we understood was going to happen. But hey, you roll with it, and it was a fun night.
What is it you're hoping, a viewer who's humming and hawing over their ballot right now, what is it you're hoping they took from the debate tonight?
Yeah, great question. So I think, we have been talking a lot about experience and leadership in this race, and I want people to know they're going to get that with my candidacy, with me as the leader of the party, but they're also going to get someone who is new and modern and has been building organizations, old and new, from scratch, and sometimes reinvigorating old ones to become competitive again, to welcome in exciting new people and ideas, and to pivot in their category and dominate that category again. So, there's a bit of a false choice. I think people are being fed in this race, that it's like there's some experience over here or nothing. Folks, I'm saying I give you both. You get experience, and you get someone who can modernize this party and help it turn the page. So that's what I'm putting out there as the vision for the Val Litwin race here, the campaign race, and where I think we can take the party.
Yeah. Val, I think probably a big moment for you, questioning Kevin in that very first question about rumored special deals that perhaps the Falcon campaign had made in order to gain support from certain people or certain groups. Do you have any specifics to those rumors, Val? Where did that kind of come from? And were you satisfied with what I thought was Falcon's pretty strong denials that has occurred?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect Kevin to do anything other than demur and point somewhere else. But look, all campaigns, we have literally made thousands of calls now, and these rumors are out there. So it was a genuine opportunity for Kevin to address the rumor, and he gave his answer. But we are hearing from organizers, we're hearing from people in the party, that there are conversations that are happening out there. And for me, that's the old way of doing politics. I think we have to turn the page. I mean, look at what we've been going through in the last 2 weeks, right? If ever there was a time to press reset, and Jordan, because you like it, download the new operating system. Now is the time. And we've been sort of fretting and wringing our hands over, how do we bring in new people? How do we bring in young people, diverse people? We do it by becoming more transparent and accountable, by realigning our core values and getting new behaviors out there in the public. And I said it from the podium tonight, our brand is not what we think and say about ourselves as a party. Our brand is what others think, feel, and say about this party. So this race is about the chance to change the brand. And so that's what that question was about.
Val, in the last race, we saw a number of what we're going to call deals, sort of mutual support agreements, whatever you want to call them. Do you think either your campaign or any of the other campaigns will see some of those in the next couple of weeks before the vote?
So you're talking between campaigns to sort of...
Yes, absolutely. Like if an agreement for candidate X to make to tell their supporters to make candidate Y their second choice.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see it. But I mean, for me, even the deal stuff goes back to the old way of politicking. I mean, do any of the candidates in this race have the power to deliver their constituencies to someone else? I mean, do we think that? I don't know. So I think this is more about where are the core value alignments, and where are people pushing on similar issues, and where do we have resonance? Because I think the party would benefit from coalitions where we're elevating messages around renewal, around changing our behavior, around more accountability and transparency. So for me, it's yes, I'm sure there's conversations happening, but for me, this is about who out of the candidates are we resonating with, and where do we see common purpose?
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Val. Congratulations. Good luck on the stretch run here. We have Gavin and Renee in the queue, so I'm gonna get to each of them. But really appreciate you taking time. And for a guy who's never run for office before, Val, you've put up a great campaign and really done credit to yourself and to your supporters.
Hey, I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the hot stove action. This is always good stuff. We'll talk soon.
Talk to you, Val.
All right, we're going to bring on Gavin Dew next. And I am reliably informed that was Gavin's real phone number that he did give out. Anyone can call Gavin now. And when you do call Gavin, first thing you should say is, Gavin, cute family. And that can be confirmed. So, Gavin, how'd you feel it went?
Oh, Gavin's muted.
Gavin is muted.
Here we go. Now I'm not muted.
Yeah,
you know
if
what?
there's any one of us who should be good at this technology, Gavin, I feel like it should be you.
Well, it's because my phone was ringing off the hook, buddy. But
Well played.
Anyway, listen, I thought it was great. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the energy. I do want to acknowledge Pro Show and Global, who did a really good job of taking a very complicated debate format and making it, I hope, work for the viewers at home. But it was also really well executed for those of us taking part. So just a huge thanks to both of those groups for all the work that they did to make this possible.
Yeah, no, it did look great at home. It was seamless. When you watch it back, I think you'll really enjoy it. Except, probably for your own parts, which you're only human, so you'll obviously cringe at yourself on TV if you're anything like myself. Gavin, very clear in this debate that your message, the ballot question that you would like folks to talk about, is how to recenter families as the central point of the BC Liberal Coalition. I mean, you asked Michael Lee about childcare. You brought up your own family several occasions. I know for you, this isn't just a political gimmick. This is a genuine, authentic view of politics. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I've always felt that where we started to lose our step with voters was when this has happened to us over time, when we allow ourselves to be seen as dry, when we allow ourselves to be seen as only economic, when we fail to do what Brad Wall talks about, which is finishing the sentence of why we're doing the things we're doing, we don't win. So that's why family is so important. We've got to demonstrate who we're doing this for. Why are we doing this? We're doing it for our kids. We're doing it for our grandkids. We're doing it for our parents. We're doing it for our grandparents. That's why we want a strong economy. That's why we want to make sure we have, robust social supports. It's for people. So we've got to frame everything in terms of that lens. I actually, Jordan, I want to tell you the story of why I use that language all the time. So I was watching Bo and Ma in 2020, going into the second or third day of the election. She was introducing John Horgan, and she, for about 30 seconds, got clipped down on Global. And in that 30 seconds, she managed to say, people, 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 families, communities. And I knew then that was a very intentional contrast that the NDP was laying out, which was making themselves the party of people. And I refuse to surrender that ground to the NDP. We are the party of people. We are the party of families. We are the party of making sure that people are well taken care of and that they have opportunity. And we should never again surrender that ground to them.
What does the next few weeks look like for you, Gavin? Aside from your phone ringing off the hook, and I'm actually almost shocked that that we're not hearing the rings right now. Now that you're past the gauntlet, what does the home stretch look like for you?
I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing for the last number of weeks, which is spending about 10 to 12 hours a day calling members and having personal one-on-one conversations with them and asking them for their support, one after the other. I've been talking to people all over the province, and frankly, there is no substitute for doing the work and just making those connections personally. I know that everybody who's listening right now and every member is currently drowned in text messages and phone calls and
May have lost Gavin there.
That is okay. I'm going to let Gavin go. We have Renee and Alice both waiting their turn. So I'm going to say thank you, Gavin. We appreciate it. Good luck to you the rest of the way. Definitely appreciate him stepping in on, I think, all three of our post-game shows. I think Gavin has put up to talk to. I'm going to invite Renee to come on board now. Renee had, quite frankly, my favorite little curveball during this whole debate was when she lured Gavin Dew into that question on, how to recruit people. He thought this was a softball, and then she turned it to be an example of how she herself was recruiting candidates. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Renee, welcome to the show. Great job tonight. I thought this was your best debate of the four.
Oh, you are so sweet. You say the nicest things. Thank you.
No, you were excellent. You're excellent. And look, it stands to reason, right? Like, fourth time, you're more practiced, you're more comfortable. And I just, McLean and I were on a text thread with a friend of the show, Katie Merrifield, and
who is not related to you.
No, she is not. We've tried it. We've tried to figure it out.
All three of us went crazy on the text thread when you turned that little bit on Gavin. And even Gavin himself, you could see, gave the wry smile like, I can't believe that happened. Awesome.
Totally. And you know what? It is about that. It is about, doing something that is unpredictable and trying to get attention. At certain points I was like, should I stand on my head? Like, what is it going to take to get people to pay attention? But really my empathy meter kicks in, and I look at everything that BC has had to deal with over the course of this last year. And really how can you pay attention to a leadership race when you're trying to figure out how to get back into your home after a flood, or, you're trying to figure out your healthcare situation. And this last week has been a heavy one for me. And really difficult, just, as an MLA, listening to people who are struggling, and not with COVID, but because of COVID and because of the healthcare system and some of the harder, shutdowns that we've seen and delays that we've seen, and some really serious things. So yeah, tonight, I am totally on the opposite side of Gavin, in him saying that, like, no, it was great and the venue is so amazing. It was. And oh my goodness, Pro Show and Global, pulled a rabbit out of a hat. But it is so hard to look at a camera and not see anyone and not see any reaction. Yeah. For me, I am all about eyeballs and conversation and facial expressions. So I definitely thank you for seeing how I've found my voice in this and become more authentically Renee every debate. But definitely it's tricky to be in a room all by yourself talking into a camera, and literally all by yourself.
Renee, I want to ask you about the numbers you brought in terms of, especially, it's an average of 19 times women have to be asked to run, which 100% lines up with my own anecdotal experience and just what I've witnessed. That's not all shyness, obviously. What did it take to convince you to run, and what changes can be made that it doesn't take 19 times to ask really qualified, deserving women to put their names on the ballot?
I think first and foremost, we need to build relationship. You have to be engaged. You have to be where they are. You have to be, making those contacts and seeing them. And I wish it didn't take 19. I'm sure it did, at least that, for me, and largely because it's like politics for women is hard. Politics for racial minorities is hard. And politics for, different genders and orientations is hard. So it definitely is a different atmosphere. And that's why the diversity and inclusion conversation is so important to me. And Sonia First and I've had conversations just around that aspect of how do we get this to be a safer place, to have great conversations on policy rather than the personal attacks. And so, for me, it is, still about the 19. How do we make it better? I think that we engage in different levels. And one of the advantages that I have had was, being involved with Christy Clark and being involved with her, her economic Economic Council and having some fierce women who have been great role models for me, whether that's, MLA Shirley Bond or Jackie Taggart or Coralie Oakes, or, the ones that have gone before even, like the Jane Thornthwaites or like the Mary Polacks. So for me, I've been in relationship with many of these women who have just been huge champions and advocates of the next generation of diversity to come through.
Renee, last question for you, and it actually goes back to Richard's very first question of the whole debate, which to you was on some of the apologies after social media. I talked about this on HOTSTOVE this morning with McLean, that it was very clear from the start, from the moment you were elected, even before there was a leadership race, that certain NDPers were targeting you on social media. I thought your answer was fantastic. Like, honestly, a home run answer to that question at the very beginning. Turning it to talk about rapid tests and, things that now it feels like, 8, 9, 10 months later, however long it's been, a lot of these things that we weren't allowed to socially question so much 10 months ago are now the question on everyone's lips today.
Well,
and what does that say about kind of your leadership and where you see things?
I saw a great quote the other day. It's like, sometimes to lead, you have to first appear as a fool. And I had this vindicating moment. I was watching CTV last Friday night, 6 p.m. Dr. Ira Bernstein. I actually looked him up. He's a family practitioner in Toronto, and a great conversation with the journalist saying, Dr. Bernstein, what would you do, and how can you really encourage people going through Omicron? He's like, well, number one, I tell everyone, take your vitamin D. It's a great way to really increase and enhance your immune system. Then I say, get outside, be healthy, eat well, make sure that your mental health is good. And I'm listening to this, I well up with tears, and I'm like, see, it just sounds better, I guess, when he says it. But really, my whole point about healthy living, prevention, and trying to give our immune systems the best chance has been taken so out of context. And it's hard. It's hard to stand, but to lead, sometimes you have to first become and seem a fool, which I certainly have tried not to be. And in fact, that courageous leadership is how I would do all of my leadership, regardless of where it is. I'm going to stand up for British Columbians. I'm going to make sure that we have the absolute best outcomes possible. And in doing so, I hope that hope that that's seen. But ultimately, it's for the betterment of British Columbia.
Awesome. Hey, Renee, good luck to you. You're on the stretch run. This long, ridiculously long marathon is almost over.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy these next few weeks, get the work done, and good luck to you.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you guys for being such a great voice for us and commentary. I am a BC Poly HOTSTOVE addict. So I count how many times you talk about me, how many times you don't talk about me.
We'll try to talk about you more, I promise.
You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Renee. Take care. All right, and we're going to bring on Ellis Ross, who I've invited. Let me re-invite him. McLean, they're all really upbeat tonight. It's good.
They're giddy. It's over. I mean, there's no more debate prep.
School's out for summer. They can party.
I mean, this is debates. I mean, if you're listening to this and you haven't been through this process, the process for preparing for these debates is just an absolute vampire of time. And so for all these candidates, it's going to seem like they have just an ocean of time tomorrow that hasn't existed for days and weeks. That it's going to seem like the day is twice as long as it was before. And so, yeah, I mean, they're going to be giddy.
Ellis Ross, as the only Lower Mainlander with a mic right now, I'm going to hereby declare you an honorary Lower Mainlander because you've been broken down in the Massey Tunnel. That's good enough for me. You're in, buddy.
You're on the SkyTrain right now, aren't you, Ellis?
Perfect. You know what? I was going to take the mic and slam it to the floor, but it was actually bolted to the podium, so I couldn't do
that. I remember a government that was going to build a new bridge there. You would have been perfectly safe up on your own dedicated lane, but a certain NDP political decision went otherwise. Hey, Ellis, finally, 4 debates over. The stretch run is on. How are you feeling coming out of this debate? And what's next for your campaign in this last 2.5 weeks?
Actually feeling pretty good because, it's true. We put together a bunch of ideas and platforms, and then we went out and actually turned around and listened to people, and then we modified it. But it's pretty similar to everywhere you go all across BC in terms of what was really concerning them. So in terms of what we do next, well, number one, debate prep is over. That's gonna, free up my mind. That takes away like 2 or 3 days before every debate, just getting prepared and trying to think about every possible question or issue that come up. And it was I got a great team that actually set me up for that. And now it's all about the persuasion. But I'm still going to go out and talk to people across Lower Mainland, Vancouver Island. They still want us to get out to North Vancouver Island, for instance, at Port Alberni. They want us back in Richmond. And so it's still the matter of getting out and talking to people.
Alice, a lot of the analysis of where the race is at right now, and I mean, maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, is that it's kind of become a two-way heat with you and Kevin. We're kind of the two front runners. You kind of came out and said that in the debate tonight. Is that an accurate assessment of where you stand of how the debate looks, and what are you hoping people took from that?
To be honest, I wouldn't know. I actually, it was forwarded to me in terms of an interview that Jazz Johal was giving, and I've been just doing my job. I haven't actually been engaged with my campaign team in terms of the technicalities or the administrative processes around the numbers. That's how I won 2017, 2020. Just do the job I'm supposed to do. Go out, meet people, talk. So when I saw that, and people have talked to me about it, right? They've said, "Oh, it's between you, Michael Lee, and Kevin Falcon." You don't know who to believe. No, nobody has a crystal ball in this that's accurate. So when I saw Jazz Johal say it, I said, "Okay, I can use that, I guess." If Jazz Johal said it, so I don't know if that's true or not.
Yes, if Jazz said it, must be true, right? I mean, and it's NW, the big dog radio, right? That's how it goes. Ellis, your question during the question period portion was to Kevin, and I think that's a sign of where the two of you are in this race. I think you're the two favorites to win this. But you asked Kevin what will happen if he wins, and the BC Liberals don't have a leader in the House. How big an issue do you think that is? And wouldn't I thought Kevin's answer about the bench strength, Shirley Bond, yourself, other MLAs, was a good one. How do you see that kind of unfolding here going forward?
Well, there's going to have to be a by-election, and the NDP are in control of by-elections. And so they're not going to actually hold a by-election as quickly as possible to accommodate the BC Liberals. We got to be honest about that. And in terms of what's really happening, people are frustrated in terms of the restrictions and the orders coming out from the BC NDP. And so I think we're at a crossroads now where we can actually just keep stalling out in terms of bringing our society back, bringing our economy back, or we can go back in there and aggressively hold government accountable. I mean, the timing is now. I mean, I heard you talking about Renee was probably 10 months too early in terms of questioning COVID. She got hammered for that. Today, she's vindicated. In fact, I got a lot of mail coming to me and saying that you shouldn't have supported the idea of opening up gyms again. But that conversation has to happen. If we're starting to come out of it now and the people are wanting to see a brand new start to everything that's been happening around us, then we got to start questioning it. So that was a legitimate question, but it all builds into the fabric of how we bring back the BC Liberals and how we actually gain their favor and trust for 2024.
Ellis, you mentioned that the next session is going to be, I think you said, one of the most consequential in the province's history. Was that kind of or are you tipping your hand a little bit? Is there going to be some fireworks that we can expect in the House in the next month?
Well, there has to be, right? I mean, for the last 2 years, it was taboo to speak about anything COVID. It was taboo. But now you're starting to see people question it. And I think the time is now for not only for the opposition to actually get in there and ask the really tough question about COVID, but actually listen to the people who are starting to question this. Because I do understand we have to get out of this. Whether you're talking about rapid testing, whether you're talking about Omicron, but I've always thought about people and society. I mean, if you understood where First Nations come from, where your society was totally torn apart, and then we slowly started to rebuild it over the decades, you'll understand, why I put so much emphasis on people, family, communities, and I don't like to see it divided or destroyed. So that's why I think that we're at a crossroads here, and we can actually do some really good in terms of holding the government accountable.
Alice, thanks for joining us. Super appreciate it. Congratulations to you and your campaign on these 4 debates and getting to the finish line soon, very close. And most importantly, for surviving the Massey Tunnel. You've done it, buddy. You're a Lower Mainland.
All right, guys. And if you see Leonardo DiCaprio around, tell him I'm still waiting for a response.
I will.
He's actually
I'll pass
waiting
that
to
along
speak right
next
now.
time I'm on his yacht. I'll pass that along.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Bye. All right, McLean. We've talked to all of them except for Kevin and Stan. Stan Seapost did follow me on Twitter today, so it is possible he'll pop in if he does.
It's possible. Now, Kevin has not yet joined one of these. It would be fascinating to have him on. But I dare say, Jordan, that it would be almost more fascinating to have Stan Seapost on tonight.
it would bring Katie Merrifield in for sure. Hey, let's go through, let's analyze what happened tonight a little bit. We've heard from the candidates now how they thought it went. I thought very strong night for both Renee and Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Renee's answers were great. I thought she was very much on point. And I thought Falcon did everything he had to do. He, escaped without taking any damage whatsoever. There was kind of clunky moment here or there, but by and large, even though the questions were generally directed to him, I thought he performed well, and he certainly looked like someone who felt very comfortable about where their campaign is at.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, and this is, I'm going to say this right off the bat. This is the definition of quibbling. I think Kevin's actually performed better in the debate before this, but that's only because he really did well in the previous debate. You're right. He did have a couple sort of wobbly moments. His exchange with Michael, I mean, I'm sure he'd rather that never happened at all. But you're right. It could have gone much, much worse than it did. We talked about this in our text exchange during the debate. I actually thought that the best performer of the night was actually Gavin. He didn't really have any rough spots. The one time he got roped into a trap with Renee, he handled it with really good humor. He had some great lines. He was polished and personable, and did a really good job of sticking to his message. So that would actually be the person would say if you had to pick not really a winner, but a best performer, I'd say it was Gavin.
Yeah, I think for all these candidates, it's very clear that the practice has helped, right? Like they're getting better every time out. I think the divide between them and Stan Seapost, who's, this was only his second debate, it was a mile wide as far as kind of polish and skill goes. Gavin was very good for sure. I liked his little quip that he was the same age as Richard Zussman, and my God, we all trust Richard Zussman. Why wouldn't we trust him? Of course, that makes sense to me. I'm sure Richard's going to use the quote, a competent journalist on his resume from now on.
Yes, absolutely.
It was good. You're right. He got caught a little bit with Renee there, but it was a wry smile, and it wasn't a deadly issue. And Gavin, led the way on childcare as he has throughout this campaign. So
Gavin also has a way of phrasing that works really well. He talked about driving until you qualify, talking about home affordability out in the suburbs, and it's such a good way of putting it, and it's very Lower Mainland specific. I'm kind of surprised it's not just like a regular phrase. He's very good at coining a phrase, and that's obviously a good skill in a politician.
Yes, trust is built in the trenches, I've been told by Gavin a few times. Gavin did well. Renee did well. Kevin, I thought Ellis, accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. Look, all the questions around Ellis were, do you really understand urban issues? Like, can you actually rebuild this party in urban areas? A little bumpy there where he kind of quipped that, Premier Horgan wasn't from an urban area. I'm sure the mayor of Langford would be shocked to hear that. By the way, a lot of love for Langford on this debate tonight.
Absolutely, and yes, for the record, Langford is if Langford is rural, then there's only one city in BC.
I'd just like to
And
say, I was hoping Stan Stepos would hop on because I was going to be like, Stu Young's been the mayor of Langford for 18 million years. Like, term limiting him out wouldn't have been very smart there, would it, Stu? Or would Stan? But that didn't happen. By the way, Stu Young, only our second favorite mayor on Hot Stove. We, of course, prefer Gabby Wickstrom. She's our favorite.
absolutely.
Yeah. More talk about that.
I will say this about Stan Stepos, and that we talked about this in Hot Stove this morning. Is that, I mean, I think if you gave him a truth pill, he would tell you no, he has no chance of winning this. The thing for him to do is find one issue and stick to it. And whatever you think of the idea of term limits, and it's not an idea that I support, he stuck to it. That's good. If that's going to be the ground he wants to stake, sure. Just make sure you stake it. And, he tried to. So I'm going to give him some credit. Just so I can tell Katie that I said something good about Stan Stepos.
The funny thing is, Stan questions Kevin. So, goes for the big dog right away, like the perceived front runner. And essentially asks Kevin sort of along the lines of, like, what have you actually done?
Yeah.
Kevin lists out like 7 specific things that he accomplished in government. And then Stan kind of looks in the camera and goes, same old politicians. Always talking rhetoric, never doing anything real. And you're like, well, wait, no, he just gave you 7 examples of things. Like, but it was clear that in his mind he kind of had the question line.
Which ironically is the most politician thing you can do, which is ignore what they said and just go right to your pre-written follow-up.
How dare you talk about the tape recorder in your head that tells you exactly what to say and everything. So, how do you think Val did?
I think Val probably got the least airtime of everyone tonight.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't clock it, but I think that might be the case. I think Val is always so smooth and polished and sort of, TV friendly, that he kind of just naturally has an advantage in that he really takes advantage of the time he is given. I thought that his exchange with Kevin was really interesting, talking about the deals. I actually would have been really curious to hear Val say, "I'm told it's a secret deal with Kevin's camp and this camp," and I'm not hinting at anything. I genuinely don't know if there are deals and haven't heard the rumors. But I mean, that was an interesting thing to go after, and he comported himself well.
I, for one, can deny that Kevin Falcon has offered me the lieutenant governorship in return for my support. So, hey, Stan Stepos has requested to speak, so I'm going to bring him on. So, everyone behave themselves. Stan's on his way in here.
Excellent.
Stan, congratulations. You've made it through another debate, and thanks for joining us on Hot Stove. How do you feel it went? Oh,
you just got to unmute yourself there, sir.
Happens to all of us.
Yep, including myself.
Hi,
Stan.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine, thanks. Hey, how do you feel the debate went? And congratulations on making it through.
I think the debate went well. The debate went well. I think I'm speaking for the people, from the people. I'm just a guy from the street, trying to make change. If you guys want politicians, if we all want politicians to be politicians and more politicians, we're just going to get the same old. If you need healthcare, who's going to give it to you? You think the politicians are going to do that? If you want housing, do you think you're going to get housing? Affordable housing? What are they going to? They've never done anything. No one's done anything. I'm stepping in for that reason. We've got hundreds and hundreds of people sending us emails saying that it's about time that common sense finally arrived for politics. Like it's outrageous. I mean, think about it, guys.
Yeah.
So I know,
Stan, you talked a lot about term limits tonight, and it's a really intriguing idea, and not one that generally gets used in our kind of governmental system. Yeah. You see extremes in the United States. I believe the governor of Virginia can only serve 1 term, so you have a constant churn there. Tell me about how you came to this idea of term limits for British Columbia, and what you think it would actually deliver.
Well, I think it's term limits for me came from watching presidential elections. 2 terms and they're gone. Right? What's happening is, when you think about it, just as a regular guy on the street, when we're dealing with politicians, many of them get in there and they never leave. They kind of create a little fiefdom. They create their own business. They're beholden to people. Look what's happened in municipal politics with no term limits. The NDP has basically stolen the agenda, generates the vote to get those people in there, and they're there for years and years, and nothing happens, and we're just stuck with bureaucracy. Bureaucracy's gone crazy. I mean, I have no interest in being there for a long term. I'm only interested in going in there, making change, and getting things to be efficient, to actually stop the traffic jams, to change it, to start getting things to flow. Why doesn't it flow? In business, if I don't do something, you know what happens? We're out of business. I go broke. Government just uses your money. It's your money. It's your guys' money, and you know that. And they do nothing. We get nothing. So term limits basically brings accountability, and it makes people know that they've got a short period of time to do something. And that's the objective. Fresh ideas. You have so much time, you get it done, and you're out of there.
I guess the question I would have, well, there's two. You mentioned Stu Young, the mayor of Langford. I don't even know how long he's been mayor there, but what would you do with cases like that with somebody who I think you would say has done a good job? And then if I can ask you two at once, the other one is, you mentioned you get two chances. We've just gone through two early elections quite recently in Canada and BC. What happens if we have two elections in 2 years? Does that count as two terms? I guess these are just sort of details that we'd have to work out.
No, I agree with that. Listen, Stu Young is I just love Stu Young. He is a model of what we should be doing, and an example that people should follow. And just not enough people are following that. Of course, we just know about him on the island, but many people have never heard of him. He should be doing this. I shouldn't be here. Stu Young should have come here, and he should have figured out how we fix this, how we do things. But he wasn't interested, so someone had to do it. The term limit idea, in terms of, would you do it like call a quick election? I think we need a reasonable time period. So say you put in a time limit for provincial politics at 12 years. So it's a 12-year deal. If elections are typically 4 years apart, 3 terms max. That's it. And maybe if somebody wants, you could put a 2-term that you've got to be away 2 terms, 8 years away, and you can go back if you feel like you can contribute something else. In municipal politics, no more than 8 years, 2 election cycles, which is typically 4. They don't call early elections, right? They typically set their terms. It used to be 3. I think now it's 4. Let me tell you, the gridlock that is occurring in our province and in our cities, and the lack of affordable housing, the lack of making decisions. I mean, how do we change that? I'm just a guy from the street. I'm the guy who's complaining at the table, who's complaining in the living room and saying, if I was there, this is what I would do. If I was there, I think I would change it like this. So I finally said, we can talk, or we can step up and take the heat. And everyone said to me, what the heck do you need this for? Do you really need this aggravation? Do you really want this? And I said, I do, because you have to step up and be counted. This country and this province has given me an incredible opportunity to be whatever I want to be, and to pursue dreams and ambition that I just can't even describe. I mean, I was just a guy who left home, as I said, at 16, $7.50 in my pocket. CCM bicycle, got a job as a laborer on a construction site. So I didn't parachute into this thing. No one gave me anything. Refugee, immigrant, I mean, all of it. I'm the poster guy, you could say, that this province allows to pursue whatever you want for anybody. And I feel that we need to protect that dream and that ability to do that. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Stan, it's 2.5 weeks or so, I think, to the vote. Where do you go from here? What's your plans for these next, 17 days?
I have to separate myself. I understand I didn't sign up thousands of members, but I tell you what, the base that was there, the 40-some thousand people that are the base, and I've been communicating with them, they are fed up with politics as usual. We've just been sliding backwards. I have spent numbers of hours with Sonia Furstenau from the Green Party. I have talked with many, and we've had tremendous support from people who are lifelong NDP people. I'm not looking to separate and say, the NDP is evil, the Greens are crazy, or anything like that. We need to work for all the people. So my objective is to separate and show how I'm different. I am different. Unlike anything anyone has seen, and I'm not a radical of any kind. I'm just there to do a job. And I believe I can attract, even though you guys think I don't have a chance in whatever to do this, I believe that we are going to do something that will surprise everyone on what is possible. I think I'm...
Well, Stan, one thing you should know about McLean and I is we're almost always wrong on our
exactly.
That's true. I'm a Broncos fan. That's tell you everything you need to know.
We're famously incorrect. So prove us wrong. Definitely prove
Yeah,
us wrong.
yeah. Listen, I'm a Brady fan, and I'm certainly looking forward to the
Oh my
Los
God.
Angeles. I'm certainly looking forward to the Rams game. I hope he steps up and shows what he's capable of, because I intend to
Oh
do
my
the same
Lord.
thing.
Yeah, Stan, can I
Being a
ask you one more
fan.
question before you
Yeah.
go? I was listening to your response there, and I'm fascinated. I think the one question that most people would have is, why enter the race so comparatively late? Was it just sort of a decision you hadn't made till that point, or was it a calculated move? Why not start from the beginning?
Well, I thought about it, but I thought the other guys were going to do a great job. I thought that the people who were running were going to do something. When I watched the two debates and I kept listening, I talked to people. Nobody even knew there was a race on. Nobody knew that, even in our party, nobody knew that there was a leadership race. So I said, and when I listened to the debates, I said, we need bold change. We can't be like we were, because we've been, old is gone. We can't have retreads coming into the party and thinking that we're going to be terrific and they're going to hold up. I'm not joking about this. I'm just I've been on the phones myself. I've been talking to people. So I said, I listened to it and I said, gosh, if we don't do this, what's going to happen is it's going to be the same old. We're going to lose this election, because how are the current candidates going to beat Horgan and the incredible team they have? Like, it's just not possible. They're not going. Everyone kept telling me, we're just going to vote for Horgan. I said, what? I said, free enterprise is at stake. Small and medium-sized businesses at stake. People's dreams are at stake. I'm listening to contractors saying that they can't bid on government work unless they're union. I mean, why is there division like that? And listen, I've known Rob Fleming forever. He's a terrific guy. I've supported him. I've given him money to his campaign. I'm not anti-NDP. I'm a British Columbian, first and foremost. That's what I'm here for. Just to do that, just to say, okay, let's see what government can do if someone comes in that doesn't have political baggage, that doesn't know what you can't do as a politician. I'm not a politician. What can you do if you brought efficiency? What can you do if you just make sure that they serve the people, period, and step away and step out of the way and ensure that we get proper health care and start doing that? Look, these catastrophes that we're facing in healthcare, in affordable housing, how long do you think that's been building? Why haven't they done it? Both the Liberal Party previously and the current party. They're not doing anything. They're just pointing fingers and saying it's the other guy's fault. Well, I'm not going to point fingers anyways. With me, you're going to know that I'm responsible. And you're going to know that I'm going to get the job done. And I guarantee you that. That's the difference. Listen, I didn't, there's only one thing in life I wanted to be famous for. And I succeeded in that. And that was in motorsports. That's the only thing that I loved in my life, I was passionate as a kid. In this particular situation, I'm not here to be important. I don't care that, I'm not interested in being someone important and be premier. I'm not here, as I've said, for a pension. I'm not there for the job. I'm just there to show what is possible and to protect and to allow our young kids and the future generations to be able to pursue their dreams, versus government doing everything for everyone and thinking that they need to hire everyone and provide everything for everyone and discourage free enterprise and go after that. So that's it. That's it, guys. Like, I'm the real deal. I'm not in this for anything but to work and serve all British Columbians and to just improve what we have as a province. I think, what I
Well,
keep
I just want to say thank you so much for putting your name on the ballot, but also for coming
yeah,
on.
and listen, and one last thing. Imagine, like, I'm a bit of a dreamer. I believe that if you throw a pebble in a pond, the ripple effect, you don't know what can happen. And as I keep telling her, he says, why are you doing this? I said, I believe that if you do the right thing, you can possibly change the world. You can change how things work in the world. And why isn't that possible? Think about it. If we can do something extraordinary, both environmentally and with green jobs, etc., if we can do something extraordinary in how we govern, if people take notice of it, maybe, just think about that. I know it's a far-fetched idea, but dreams can come true, and you just have to throw that pebble in that pond on flat water, and that ripple can spread around the world. I mean, that's what I'm doing this for. I really believe that. I think we can do that.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Dan. Really
Yeah.
appreciate you joining us. Good luck to you the rest of the way. And next time I'm on the island, I'm going to hit you up for a coffee.
Yeah, by all means.
I'll even
Yeah,
buy.
give me a call.
I'll buy.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Awesome. All right,
Okay.
take care.
Good night.
I
This
admit,
McLean,
I did not think we would get Stan Sipos on the show. So, full
heard
credit to him
from-
for dialing in.
That's like drag racing legend Stan Sipos, and we just were talking to him. You and me, a Hall of Famer.
It's true. It's true.
And a friggin' Brady fan. What the hell is wrong with these people? I don't, politics as usual, he doesn't agree in, but Brady winning every year, come on. That's terrible. McLean, we've been at this for almost an hour. Do you want to wrap up? What's your takeaway from this debate? And what are you going to be thinking about when you close your eyes tonight?
Well, not this, but you know what? It was. I thought it was a good debate. We've been talking about this as we go through these. That there's sort of been a slow and steady progression in terms of they're all actually improving as they go.
Hold on. We are being joined by the moderator himself.
Oh my god!
Speaking of celebrities, it's Richard Zussman. How do I look? Wait, this is just an audio show. He's been added to the thing. He's got to unmute himself.
I'm unmuted.
The best-selling author.
I'm here.
The moderator extraordinaire, tearing himself away from his, what I understand to be, very cute family.
Yeah, I just want
Mr. Zussman. Great job tonight, Richard. You did a fantastic job.
Thanks, Jordan. I want to pop on and thank everybody for watching and tuning in. It was much appreciated. And it is a cute family. And I wanted to make sure.
What's it like moderating an entirely remote debate? It's got to be more difficult.
Yeah, it's different. Part of the thing about these debates is you get to engage with the candidates. You see them before and after. You have conversations. You get a better sense of the dynamic between them. You don't get any of that. It was also weird for them too. You couldn't really get a sense watching it. And I don't know if any of the candidates talked about this or you guys mentioned this, but they were all in their own cubicles, in essence, engaging with their own team. And there was not a lot of conversations between them. And we'd been working, with the Liberals Global had for the last few weeks to make this possible. And we looked at different options, of me going over to Vancouver to do it. And we opted, obviously because of Omicron and the risks associated with that I would do it from the office in Victoria. And I think we pulled it off pretty well. But yeah, it's a different experience, McLean, and we're lucky the candidates were pretty good with the clock. Like they paid attention to the clock. And
we might have lost Richard there for a second.
He is on the island, so he is cut off from civilization.
Well, so am I.
Well, I mean, that's true. He'll come back on in a second, I'm sure. But there's so many questions I want to ask Richard. Like, what's it like to have McLean in the press gallery? Like that. There he is. He's back.
What is it like having McLean?
What is it like having McLean in the press gallery? It must be a real nuisance for the president of the press gallery.
I am Richard's cute family. That's what his answer is going to be.
And the sad thing is, I was just back in my office. It's the first time that I've spent any time in that office in nearly 2 years, and it's a weird thing. I had my dinner tonight before the debate up with our friend, Rob Shaw up in the gallery, and so it was, it's different, but it's nice having McLean in the gallery, obviously. And I'm happy when we'll all be back together.
Absolutely. Hey, Richard, what do you think is going to be like the clip that will lead coverage on Global tonight or tomorrow morning? What's the takeaway clip?
Yeah, so I think the engagement between Michael and Kevin obviously was a big part of it, and their conversation around the membership issues the party is having, accusations of racism from Michael Lee towards Kevin Falcon, his response to that. All those back and forth always get a lot of attention. Obviously, so that's part of it. And the post analysis, when you guys had started your show, we were doing something on BC One as well. Ellis and Michael, other than that moment, didn't have their sort of defining moment that will get repeated again and again. And they needed that, I think. I think the perception obviously is that Kevin Falcon's the front runner here, and they needed a moment that would get played again and again on Global and the other stations. And I don't think that existed. So I think that exchange was interesting. I really think those exchanges between the candidates are the moments that people remember. I could drive the conversations and we can ask them pointed questions, but I think the engagement between the candidates really shows a lot. What are on the candidates' minds, where the other candidates' weaknesses are, and how do they interact with each other.
Since I got you two reporters here, let me ask you this question. Alice, questioned Kevin Falcon on this idea that not having the opposition leader in the House every day during question period until a by-election can be called, that's going to be a big detriment for the BC Liberals. Do you think that's the case, especially given, I guess, the fact you probably can't scrum folks anyways right now? I presume a leader would have a time slot or on Zoom or something where you could question them regularly. Like, is that like a fair kind of concern, or would the media still have access to a leader who's not in the House?
Yeah, he'll have his regular Thursday slot, which Shirley now occupies, where the gallery logs in and asks questions. I think there's been a bit of a period here where we're hearing from some MLAs, and I see Jackie Taggart on here. I hear from Jackie a lot. I see Dan on here. I hear from Dan a lot on their issues. But part of it is, they know Shirley's the interim leader waiting for a permanent leader. Once that permanent leader comes into place and the MLAs have their critic roles, I think they're going to start being more active with the media as well. Part of that is also moving past COVID. And so we'll see a lot of Kevin Falcon because he'll get out there and the party will start offering him up, and he'll be available, and he'll be out speaking on all sorts of issues, COVID and whatever else is in the news. And then I'm also getting the sense that because Kevin is a former MLA, he actually has the right to sit on the floor of the chamber. He can't say anything, but that could be a play by the party to have Kevin sit in there and just stare down the NDP and then walk out of the chamber and do media. We will have scrums and interviews at the legislature again. Once Omicron clears here, Jordan, I hope that we're going to start seeing more reporters back in the legislature. It's been tough for us. I know there's a lot of us that want to get back, but safety first. COVID protocols first, so we're working through all of that. But yeah, there'll be lots of chances for people to hear from Kevin. I think it will actually mean that people hear more from the Liberal leader and more from MLAs too, as he sort of builds his critics team and they become more engaged and build relationships with members of the gallery.
And to Richard's point, I mean, that's yes, the leader of the party is entitled to sit in the legislature, not obviously in a seat, but just behind them. And this happened twice with Christy Clark alone, when she was first elected leader, and then after 2013, where she was premier but had lost her seat. And both times she would be sitting behind the row of BC Liberal MLAs. And it's not ideal, obviously, but I don't think it's crippling by any stretch.
Okay, one more question for Richard before I let him go. Richard, how disappointed are you, as am I, that Call Me Maybe went down in the Justin McElroy off this
I was
week?
disappointed.
That was outrageous.
So Justin's swung this wildly out of proportion. But before this whole thing started, I called Justin and I said, you have to do the songs. Like, people care about lakes, sure, but like, you have to do the songs. I've been trying to push him to do a song bracket for 4 years. And I'm like, you have to do the song. And I'm from Ottawa. I think some people know that. And I said, that song, like the Gone for a Rest song or whatever it's called, that everybody out in BC likes, that song's just going to win no matter what. But you still have to do the bracket. And he goes, that song's not going to win. I said, watch, it's going to win. But I said, I'm going to do everything possible to make sure that Carly Rae Jepsen wins. And I couldn't do enough. Mariana's Trench came in big with a huge retweet at like 1:00 in the afternoon. And Carly Rae cut that lead down and took the lead. But I'm convinced there's bots out there that led to Spirit of the West winning this thing. I've already filed my complaints with Twitter, but I guess we're going to have to leave it with them as the victors. It's incredible how many people are engaged in that, and good for Justin. I love Justin's polls. We did a beer one together last year, and I think it's a great way to get our mind of all the other stuff that's going on in this world.
And by God, we killed Baby Beluga. It may have been the last thing we ever did, but we stopped it from winning Best BC Song.
And bumped it right off the podium, Jordan. Didn't even finish.
That's right.
It's true.
That's right. Rafi was only in it to win it. He didn't care after he lost.
No, he stopped at the retweets. Carly Rae Jepsen was sitting there though with 9.2 million Twitter followers, and if she had dropped the tweet, I was texting Justin this afternoon. I said, if she drops a tweet, this thing's over. She's winning 70-30. But the tweet never came, and she lost by 1.5%. So to all you politicians out there, use all the tools you've got, because that could be the difference between winning and losing.
Carly Rae Jepsen, the pride of Mission, BC. I know this because my young daughters were out for a Christmas tea at the old Claiborne restaurant with their grandmother, and Carly Rae Jepsen came in with her grandma. And this is like right at the height of Call Me Maybe. That right after that, it was the song of that summer, and this was at Christmas. And she so kindly took a picture with my girls, and they were thrilled. And so good, good Mission girl.
I have a jacket for my best friend's wedding, and I love that song. It is one of my 5 all-time favorite songs. It just ties me to so many memories. And at the peak of that song, my best friend was getting married, and we got custom suits, and we could stitch into the jacket your initials or whatever you want. And I stitched in, "If you find this jacket, call me maybe."
Oh, beautiful. Gavin Dew should have used that line in his cell phone advertisement tonight. It would have been great. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, anyways, great job, Richard. And you're going to get a lot of accolades, I'm sure, on Twitter for the job you did, especially given such crazy circumstances. And you deserve every one of them. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. I'm just saying, again, thank you to all of you guys for watching and tuning in. It's always very much appreciated.
Awesome.
Cheers, Richard.
Goodbye, guys.
All right, there we go. I can't believe it. The guy who asks Dr. Bonnie questions every day.
And the annoying thing is that he totally stole my thunder in terms of my analysis. I agree with what Richard said. I think that, if you were asking how I thought the debate went, that, Kevin Michael Lee and Ellis Ross were, hoping for a knockout punch. And I don't know that one landed. I think Michael came close. That exchange was heated. And I to Richard's point, the fact that clip is likely to be the one that dominates the news obviously Kevin that's not his ideal scenario, but I don't think it was a decisive win for Michael there. But that would be my takeaway, is that there were no knockouts tonight. And in that situation, that's the leader wins by default almost.
Yeah, I would caution on the Michael Lee, or on Michael Lee bringing up the stuff about membership signups, just in that party faithful, longtime party members, especially ones who have been through as much as the BC Liberals in recent years, don't really love pile-ons on their party.
Yeah,
and so it's hard line to walk, and I think Michael is trying his best to walk it, because he does have, obviously, he feels he has valid concerns. I'm not sure. I'm not auditing these things. I have no idea if they're valid or not. But he clearly has concerns. But at the same time, you got to be so careful you don't blow up the very party you're trying to lead. And that will be that will be kind of his closing argument, I guess, going down the stretch here.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And it's so hard, because we're so trained in Canada and the US to who won the debate, and with 7 people on the stage or in closets at the Wall Center, it's really hard to say, well, this person clearly won. It's not a boxing match. And so you're sort of, in the media in 2022, you're always sort of looking for the clips that they're gonna last the longest, they're gonna get the most eyeballs. And I just don't see a clear winner tonight. I still think Gavin had the best overall night, but Richard's point about the clip that will get the most attention is well taken, and it's worth considering.
Okay. If Gavin had the best night, but Global doesn't clip it, does it really?
No, that's really true. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Hey, look, and I thought Renee had a great night as well, but same thing. I'm not sure if she gets clipped in this. And we were just on the phone with the guy who does the clipping, Richard. So, he's pretty tied into what's going to go on there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate those of you who've tuned in for 3 of our clubhouses, or what do we call this here? 3 of our Twitter spaces here. Hopefully you're watching us on the BC Poly Hot Stove. You can get that at theorca.ca every Tuesday. There's one live now. Don't bother. It was a preview of this debate. You've already heard all the best stuff we have to say. But yeah, really appreciate it. And you can definitely check out more of McLean's work at theorca.ca. And McLean, I think we should try to do this on the night of the big election. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Unquestionably. People seem to enjoy it, and it's fun. That's really my bottom line.
Pencil it in. We're going to do this then. We'll figure something out. We may actually do it in between ballots too. Who knows?
Ooh,
The
yeah. I
mind
guess it'll
boggles.
depend on the format. I
The
guess
mind
that's the
boggles.
next. What's that?
The mind boggles. You should research and find out what the setup's going to be from the BC Liberals.
To the Google machine. And with that,
find out what's going on. And when we do, we'll try to bring on some of the MLAs who have been on the line as well at that one. The Jackie Taggarts of the world, the Corley Oakses, the Dan Davieses of the world, who we appreciate. So thanks again, everyone. We will talk to you again soon, and have a great happy politics.
Happy politics. Good night.